We're going to set up a life system similar to how we did in the brick breaking game. So first we need a little tiny life counter sprite that we can use. To do that, I'm just going to come over here to our sprites and I'm going to duplicate the sprite player. Just by right-clicking it and duplicating it, I'm going to call it SPR life counter. I'm going to come to the modify masks and I'm just going to turn it back to automatic as opposed to the manual. I'm going to set the origin point back to 0, 0, and by opening Edit Sprite, I'm going to select the image and then come to Transform and Stretch. And with aspect ratio still on, and with quality excellent, I'm going to shrink this down. I'm going to shrink it down 50%. Click OK, and it should make your image very tiny. We can close that. We're then going to create a new object to keep track of all this. So make a new object. I'm going to call this obj_scorekeeper. I'm not going to give it a sprite, but I'm going to make it persistent. That way this will keep track of our lives and our score throughout all the levels of our game. So let's add an event, create, and I want to set our initial lives. Since GameMaker has a built-in life property, we can just come over to our score tab, and in the lives we can set lives, and we'll set this to 3. Click OK. And then we need these lives to appear on screen, so I'm going to add event, draw, and we can tell it to draw GUI, which is the graphical user interface. You could also set this up in a regular draw event. We're going to come back to our lives and find this one with the triple hearts, draw life images. Drag that over. And we're going to give it the coordinates x of 10, y of 448, and I'm going to give it the sprite life counter. We can then close the object, and we need to remember to add it to our room. So open up the room again, find our objects, and I'm going to add an object scorekeeper up somewhere in the corner, out of the way. While I'm here, I'm also going to zoom out and remove some of these enemies, and I'm just going to put the boss enemy back in because it'll be easier to die. And now let's make it so that we can actually lose a life. Let's come back to our objects and reopen our object player, and we're going to start with the object bullet collision, and I'm going to come over to score, set lives, and right above the jump to position, going to set lives to a -1 relative. So this will subtract a life from our score, and we need to do this for our other collisions as well, so I'm just going to copy this, come back to object enemy parent collision, above the jump to position, paste it, and find our object boss collision and paste it above the jump to position. But we also need to check and see if we're out of lives, because then it's game over. So let's go back to our object bullet, and below the jump to position we're going to test to see if we are out of lives. So come over to our lives in the score tab, and we'll find this test lives action and drag that underneath the jump to position. We're going to set it to a value equal to 0. Come back to control and drag some blocks underneath the test, and if we are out of lives, we first want to get everything off screen. So let's go back to main 1 tab, destroy instance. We're going to have this apply to object superparent, so everything. The player is already being destroyed right here, and since its parent is not the object superparent anyway, we need to have that separate. So click OK. And then we want the game over sprite to show up. We haven't created an object for that yet, so first let's do that. In the miscellaneous folder, I'm just going to duplicate our object win, and I'm going to call it obj_game_over, and instead of the sprite win, I'm going to give it the sprite game over graphic that was created several videos ago. And again, we're not going to have anything going on just yet, so just close it. And then back in our object player, underneath the destroy instance that we just made, let's add a create instance action, and I'm going to create the object game over. Give that a position of 320 and 224, and then finally if our lives are not equal to 0, then we want it to do this alarm 1. So we need to come to Control and select this else and put it above the set alarm 1. So now if we are out of lives, it'll destroy everything and then make this game over instance. Otherwise, it'll just reset our player. We should now add this to our other collisions. So with Control hit down, I will click the else and all the way up to our lives check, and I will just copy that. Select the object enemy parent collision, and right above the alarm 1 reset, I will right click and paste. Make sure it's all in order. Okay, and then with the object boss collision, I will do the same thing. Make sure that's all in order. Okay. So let's go ahead and close this and test. See that we've got 3 lives down here. I get hit. There we go, one more. Game over. Okay, again, this doesn't do anything yet because we haven't set it up. So let's open our room 1 and get rid of the boss, and let's go ahead and add some more of our other enemies. Let's have this set up here so that we can hopefully get this all at the same time. I'll actually set this jellyfish off to the side and maybe this squid here. Hopefully we'll be able to have all of these hit in one go. Say no. Okay, there's 1 life and 2 lives. Come on. And 3. Game over. Okay, so we can lose our lives and get a game over, but we should also make it so that we have a score system, and if the player gets a certain score, they can earn an extra life.